morning. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie. Good morning, Karen. Where were you this morning? How's that baby doing? Uh, we got a pretty big show this morning. I'm not sure how long this is going to last, and I added all three platforms. And everyone's asking which one do I go to? If you are Investigator News 2, be sure to add the Investigator News Network. In case this one does get taken, we got somewhere to go, and then you guys know where to find us. And we're also over on Facebook for those that have Facebook would like to watch the show over there. It's under Investigators. Uh, Boy, Karen, I got a lot of news this morning. I think you're really going to like it. Now, uh, we're getting more and more out of what happened at Mar-a-Lago. Um, and the lawyer, his lawyers are speaking out and saying that this was, they were trying to be sneaky. Um, and what she saw, and one of his lawyers, it seemed to be the government's out of control. Um, the attorney to Trump said they wanted to sneak in, snoop around, and not even let anybody know they were there. And this is Lindsay Halligan. She was present during the search, and she said the accounts media have are pretty raw, and she says not quite correct. And she's talking the mainstream media, and the possibility that classified documents were at Mar-a-Lago had been taken from the Washington in the warning days. Um, they said they don't really believe that there was nuclear papers found, and if so, my thing is what about Chinagate with the Clintons? They sold nuclear secrets to China. We didn't see none of this happen in the 80s and 90s. Um, they said this is unprecedented. This is a government out of control. And I agree, because what do we have with this government? We have manipulation, corruption, greed, fraud, lies, deceit, um, all of the evils of and above. Um, and she said that the FBI had taken um, over by the time that she got there. She said she got there about 11 o'clock. They'd been there since, I think, 5 or 6 in the morning. She said there was about 40 agents there. And basically, they had unfettered access to the property. They refused to talk to any of his lawyers. They refused to let them in. They refused to let them know which areas they were searching, except for it was area 1, 2, and 3, and which she eventually found out was the president's bedroom, his office, and storage room. And other than that, they weren't allowed to talk to them or even go inside. Now, everybody says this is so unfair. Well, when they didn't do the governor's mansion here, but they did. FBI did raid the Rose Law Firm, and they made everybody get out of the office. They made them all stand outside. They took all their phones away from them or any electronic devices, and then they took them and all the phones, but they didn't let them in during that either. So to me, it didn't seem all that bad or wrong. Um, there was no restraint on what was done inside the property. Um, and she basically said, who knows where they went, what was in where they looked or what they got. She has no idea. And what the FBI did was appalling abuse of power. And she said it had been her, the other lawyers, and Trump had been complying with the documents request. All the documents requested were previously handed over with no problem and on time. And if they needed other documents, they could have just asked. And we've heard about that. The thing that gets me, and it's pretty much the end, was right in the middle of this article. It says, an ex-NYPD commissioner, if the FBI raid doesn't stop Trump, the next move is assassination. How horrible is that? And is this ex NYPD guy going to get in trouble for this? Probably not. Um, so hi to Mary and Linda, I guess, and Susan and William. Um, Good morning. It's mid morning. I don't know. Is it too late for donuts? I'm almost to the needing a pot pie or lunch. So, um, and so anyway, this is what we got. Um, and everybody's mulling over it. It's going to be a couple more days and it'd be quite a bit more information that probably does come out. But just know that some of the stuff that's being put out there the FBI does do that, like going in and making everybody leave. Um, Now, it never did say if the staff had to leave or not. And they also told them to turn off the cameras. I'm hoping they didn't take all the video from the cameras. I'd like to see what they did. I'd like to see the full video, see exactly where they were snooping around. And the concerns of this lawyer and Trump has stated that what did they put in there or what did they say was there and say that they took out that wasn't actually there. So everybody's thinking that they probably planted something. That was a comment by Susan. Um, oh, maybe I didn't leave it up there long enough. I'm told I'm too quick. People got to back up and see what I put up and listen to me again. So I got to go slow. All right. So the plot thickens with this. Not only that, but it thickens in Gaza and Iran. Um, uh, with everything going on with this agreement, the JPOA agreement, and it's getting to where it's falling apart again. I do not think Israel is going to go for this. I don't think a lot of the Arab nation will go for, even if they come up with new ideas, I still don't think that they're going to have enough. Um, and with the Israeli fighter jets when they were hitting the Gaza Strip this last weekend, um, it lasted. They say an airstrike operation lasted less than 3 minutes. They said, um, and not only that, but they've commented that the firing of over 1,000 rockets, mortars into Israeli territory, while most were intercepted, the world famous Iron Dome defense system, there was some wounding of civilians and soldiers. It doesn't catch it all, folks. It doesn't, sometimes it does not catch all of the rockets. Israel is known for making sure their citizens have gas masks and in a safe place. The Hamas led Gazan Ministry of Health claimed that Israel was responsible for all of this. Um, and that the Gazan terrorists had bombed their own population, presumably by mistake, and then falsely blamed by Israeli forces. As 6 hours after the conflict, became Operation Breaking Dawn. And I've told you guys about this. And so it was a 3-day mini war, is what Israel is stating that this was. Of course, Hamas claims that it was an unprovoked violence, but in all of it, we had a Biden visit there a month ago. They had the Prime Minister, yeah, Lapid. Words will not stop Iran. It will not stop them. The only way to stop them is the military threat on the table or what we just seen. And they say that Israel is painfully aware of diplomacy, and it has been including talks with Russia, and even they are even talking about some of Barack Obama's methodology, of all that money that went there, and that all it did was bolster nuclear ambitions. And so all of this is credible. All of it is um, basically Israel politicians are now pleading with other countries that we don't need to go through with this JPOA issue, and that the leadership of Hamas and Hezbollah is basically Iran. And now that they've called a ceasefire agreement, it could take um, terrorists days or weeks, um, not only to restock from Iran, but they say what they would like to do is get together with the IDF and have an agreed back down um, for a set amount of time, not just a couple days. And see, that's what they say the problem is um, they get a new round of weapons and they automatically start firing at Israel or at their own people. And of course, then here comes Iron Dome, and they said this has been nonstop for years. And not only that, but these meetings for Iran has happened and went on for years, and nothing is being accomplished. And at this point, they feel that nothing will ever be agreed upon as long as they're both mortal enemies to one another. So I it looks like it's falling apart once again. Um, even William, if you want to make a comment down there. The thing is these Arab countries, we've mentioned it on our show. You got Sunnis, you got Shiites. They do not get along. They hate one another. You got Hamas and Hezbollah that just wants to destroy Israel, and you got Iran want to destroy Israel. And I believe Saudi just drives in circles over what to do on which way to go. Um, so I don't think I think it's going to fall apart, and they're saying it's a good possibility this does by the end of next week. The only one that is pushing this issue has been Iran, and then the Biden administration wants to have some sort of relations with Iran to keep them from firing nuclear weapons. So, um, the plot thickens, it says. It sure does. Um, Now, this one here, this was sent to me, um, and they said, is this, what do you think of this? And I had to read it, and I thought, wow. Departing Whole Foods founder John Macri is warning Americans that socialism is threatening not only the farmers, but the food sources all over the United States and in many areas, from your stores to uh, Whole Foods is having even issues. Your food banks, even the churches that have been handing out food are now seeing empty pantries. And they said um, during their meetings, they have criticized socialists for going after America's fundamental rights, such as the right to bear arms and freedom of speech, he cautioned. But the whole thing is they never thought socialism would be taking over the food industry. He said they've dominated the education and corporations and other institutions. But the concern is they feel like socialists are taking over, like they said. And they have said this is the new Democrat socialism, but they're marching through and destroying every institution, um, and even community programs that help the poor. They're just taking over, and they're pushing through socialism and trying to make it look like we should like it. Uh, and it says they've taken over so many corporations. And not only that, but they've even taken over the military, he said. And describing himself as a capitalist at heart, he said he was pretty much supported the Democrats until this last few administrations. And they said that he says it's his opinion, but capitalism is the greatest thing humanity has ever done. It takes the poor person up to the middle class. And then once they get to the middle class, they're actually able to even maybe have their own business. And that's what a capitalist is, he said. And he believes in liberty and capitalism. He also argued the blame the left for suppressing people that are part of the economy and the scientific world that's been trying to show them that these things are happening, but they will not listen. And they said it's time to call. Mackey says it's time to call out the Democrats for spreading socialist ideas, but not just ideas. We need to blast them for putting all this into effect when they know it's wrong. And for them bolstering unemployment benefits when they have no idea of what they're talking about. And the Wuhan um, labs that made it easy for people not to work and are still not working, but they can make a decent living on unemployment. A lot of people are making as much money, if not more, not working at all. So are they going to choose to go back to work? No. And they said this is what hurts the food industry is the lack of workers um, to move the food. Um, and he says, younger generations are losing the ability to know what it's like for a good day's work to make you feel good. They think of it as work and they don't want to work. So, um, but Whole Foods did say that the prices are going to go up once again due to labor. And not only that, but they still aren't getting the foods from the ports to the stores as quick as they said they are. So yeah, so Whole Foods is now give the warning out. This is a socialist program that has hurt the food industry. So that hopefully this gets out and they tell somebody. People go out and let people know that this socialist program isn't social programs to help the poor or the middle class. This is to hurt the American people, but not only that, but globally. Um, um, this one here, this is I have lots that concern me this morning. And the military rewriting nuclear deterrence, it says, under Stratcom. And the chief said basically at China and Russia threats. And they said the U.S. Admiral remarks that come as China conducted a series of drills. And we have never faced a two-peer nuclear capability opponents at the same time, possibly three, who have been so deterred differently. The strategic command chief quoted saying that Stratcom has been um, basically working towards rewriting the theory. The top military chief said the current crisis is radically different. And since it did not show up as a deterrence theory, it was the two parties that displayed chaotic behavior and the inability to predict any of these events. And they claimed that Russia has been displaying both um, nuclear type of coercion, and they're being pushed into it, just like they were pushed into this war. And they said that this we should have never let it escalate to the level of violence in any domain. And while adding that the U.S. is not used to dealing with competitions and confrontations, this is a whole new world for even the Democrats, and that they're only acting on what they feel is right. But the U.S. military is also wary of China and has often claimed Taiwan to be a breakaway province. And it will China, by any force, will take it. And that was mentioned in the white paper that we talked about. They said that we need to um, take a look at where we're going with this, and with us not being in an actual war for decades, that this generation that's been put in place, we need to have a second look at what they want. As we see a young Zelensky, they say, demanding weapons now and aid, and that we were there to help, but we weren't there to be the supplier of military equipment and aid. So it's starting to concern even the Pentagon, the military, the Department of Defense. Everybody now is starting to question this, even Whole Foods. Um, and yeah, Mary, you're right. When we look at the GOP and what are they doing, it's now they're stepping up. Now they're stepping up. Well, we needed them like 30 years ago. And then we had a whole bunch of old guys in there. You know, that was the biggest one during um, even from Bush into Obama. We seen that the GOP was so old, it was looking like um, nap time at the old folks' home. That's how it looked to me. I mean, they were all with their heads back and looked like they were all snoring together. Even Bernie Sanders. So I agree. There is a rewriting of how we're dealing with this younger generation, and a lot of it is those liberals up in Washington. And we're looking more and more at how radical they are and how they're changing our policies to suit what they want. And this is something that shouldn't happen. All of this should be voted for in the House. This should be debated and voted on. And this is what a lot of the older GOP members are saying, because I think that's what they're waiting on. They're waiting for it to be brought to the House, they debate it, and they vote. Well, it's automatically being signed in. And they're going, whoa, wait a minute. You know, they're not doing it by, they're not following the policies and following what's in the books. They're doing their own thing. Uh, you know, and when Nancy Pelosi tore up that um, Trump speech that night, to me, it was her tearing up the Constitution. Yeah, that's how I felt. Because you know Trump can always get another speech, but there was something deeper than that. And if you look back on it, it does seem like she tore up the Constitution. So, an armed man, this one attempted to breach the FBI office in Cincinnati, and he was shot dead in a standoff. So, an armed man carrying a rifle, wearing body armor, of all things. Mary, did you know about this? Was in Ohio. Did you know about this? And they tried to break into the FBI office building early hours of yesterday. And however, after an alarm was raised and the FBI special agents acted quickly, they basically had a police chase down the freeway, and eventually they did stop him and get him pulled over. And what they're saying is he was shot dead. So now they're trying to break into FBI offices. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, it's not definitely a good thing because you don't want people hurt at the FBI. But are they causing this? You know, are they causing the people to be so angry at them right now that they're willing to lash out? And it doesn't say if this guy's an illegal or who he is just yet. It'd probably be out by now. Um, Now, this one here, if you, oh boy, um, this is something that's been going on through the courts for a while, and I've been keeping an eye on it. But the Ninth Circuit Court hears arguments for the release of sealed undercover footage of exposing fetal tissue trafficking. And lawyers representing pro-life activists and citizen um, Deladin returned to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Tuesday, where the oral arguments were heard for why we should regain control of 500 hours of undercover footage that he recorded at the National Abortion Federation. And this meeting was in 2014 and 15. The footage questions features Planned Parenthood employees and other industries discussing the sales of aborted baby parts, and much has never been released to the public because if they knew, they would be horrified, according to many that have seen the footage. Heather Hacker asked the court to reverse and vacate the injunction that was issued late Friday in 2015. And this was by Judge Orrick, and the largest abortion trade group in North America. Orrick ruled that safety of abortion workers outweighed the First Amendment rights. So it looks like that these hours might be released. They were they were selling baby parts, and if you guys remember the ladies with the Planned Parenthood that was sitting there boasting about baby parts and embryos with Veritas, well, I believe this opened up a can of worms, and it's now going into the Ninth Circuit Court. Now, hopefully, we get a good judge and they do something about this. This should have been stopped a very long time ago. Anything to make a buck, yeah. Well, it's a big commodity, though. It's wanted. Um, I don't mean to be sick, folks, but there's even food that use baby embryos as flavoring. Be careful on that. Um, I'm probably going to get hit with misinformation on that, but it's true. It's true. And I won't tell you what it is. Go look it up for yourself because it'll gross you out. Um, boy. So not only that, but then they are selling, they say, parts that can be used in small newborns. Um, they say some of them, this is why I think they want to go over 15 weeks, is they want baby parts for standby, like they do with adults when you need a transplant. Well, when I looked into it of how many babies need transplants, it was almost nothing there. There is just nothing there. So they're full of it if that's what they're going to try to push with this. Um, and there is big bucks in this. There is commercial and medical and just wanting it. I think none of it ought to be allowed to be sold unless you go through some serious paperwork and be checked out who you are. Because even some of these vampire groups, they get a hold of blood all the time from the blood bank. How's that happen? They got somebody on the inside, more than likely. Um, so, all right. Um, um, it's reported that Jinping is not really wanting to meet with Biden, but he plans to visit Saudi Arabia in the next few days. Um, and they said that probably it'll be during next week. And hopefully they're claiming that they're good friends. Um, and the Biden claims he's a good friend of Jinping, but it's looking more and more like this isn't the truth. And as Biden has went around the world talking to different world leaders, it seems like Jinping or his foreign minister is going around right behind him and talking to the same countries. Um, so, according to um, Saudi Arabia, there has never been any strained relations between the two, like Saudi has had with the Biden administration and those that work for Biden. And not only that, Jinping is claiming the same thing. And they said, so China is an ally of Saudi Arabia, and as basically his ties with Washington continue to drift the wrong direction. Um, so Saudi is realigning was to not only work out gas, but natural gas and other resources with Saudi so that China doesn't run out of resources. We'll see what happens with this. I just know, folks, what's more embarrassing than anything is listen. I watch news around the globe, and it is very embarrassing to watch as these other countries make fun of our president. And it's I don't like Biden, but it is disheartening when you go place to place to place and you're hearing and watching these other countries' news media basically calling him names and making fun of him. Uh, and it really makes us look bad as a whole, as a whole for the United States. It really does. And as we try to build ourselves back, um, and get this, at least four different, it was Sky News, it was one out of Russia, um, Reuters, and Israel News that said, you know, maybe we do need Trump back to fix things. This socialism with a World Economic Forum isn't working. So you never know. You never know as we go further and closer to 2024. It could get worse to where these countries are no longer our allies, but turn on us. I think they're embarrassed too to even be considered friends. And when they were asking Saudi Arabia what they thought of our president, they didn't want to answer. It's almost like the Democrats here that they say, "Do you want him? Do you want to get together with Joe Biden?" And it's like, well, they change the subject. They don't really want him around. They have other things, other plans. They don't have the time. They're not going to be. He's busy. He's busy. Um, and we're seeing it not only here, but we're seeing it all over the globe now, where even world leaders don't want to meet with him. So Saudi didn't, and we never did find out the reasoning for that. That's what I'd like to know is why. Well, I think we know why, and even his doctors are want to come forward and say something now. That tells you it's something's up. Um, and this comes from the ladies at the Capitol, and they said more and more there's notes being passed around, and they were able to get a hold of a few of them that we now need to think about Joe Biden because um, it's his own physician um, is saying that there's a lot of issues now. I mean, think about it. If he was to go in 2024, he'd be 82 years old. Can you imagine? I mean, if I feel very sorry for this guy, if he's going through dementia, because I know we have loved ones that do have dementia, and it's hard to watch him go through this. Well, we have a leader of the country that could be going through a form of dementia, and it does move quick and swift. He will be 84 if he makes it in office in 2024. 84. Can you imagine where his mind would be in 6 years? This, I wish his wife would sit down and have a talk with him and tell him that you just can't do it unless he's hard headed and doesn't want to listen. But we don't know. But it's getting very disappointed when we hear other countries making fun of us. Um, New York City is thinking about implementing a congestion fee for motorists. They're going to put it outside the city limits and some even inside the city limits that you would have to pay, like a toll booth, but in the middle of the city. because there is, they say, so much traffic. Well, when you look at it now, they said, well, not now, but it could be better. Um, they say it's, but if they put it in now, they could start making money for New York City. Um, Too many toll booths, too many toll booths. That's up around the northern states. Boy, I couldn't believe how many there were. And then they say, well, if you know how to get around them, you don't have to pay for it. Well, when you're a tourist, you don't. Somebody needs a toll booth uh, info on where they're at and give it to the tourist. So, um, Joe Biden met with at least 14 of Hunter Biden's business associates. This is now under Freedom of Information Act, and this came from Tom Fenton. And they said it wasn't just two or three that uh, the what the information and documents and data showing is that he met with at least 14, and most of them had even been at the White House. So, wow, boy. Um, the Russian power plant, that's is a big thing over there right now. You know, um, Russia is in control of it and have been in control of it since March. And they are saying that it's constantly being blasted. And now they want the military to stand down and just let it be workers. Not only that, but they want to put them in like a free zone to where so much of around the plant, no military can be in it, and that just makes for Ukraine gaining strength or Russia. Uh, Now, what my reporters on the ground are saying is, why would Russia blow up its own self and have the fallout poison their people? Because that's the direction it would go. And they say that they're getting pictures of Ukrainians surrounding the power plant and Russia defending it. So do your own research on it, because um, we are looking at two different stories. Now, Ukraine again was told, maybe we need the inspectors in. It was fine, but then they changed their mind again. So, um, now there is, they claim there has been fresh shots fired at the power plant as of yesterday. So Zelensky said the power plant was struck 5 times yesterday, including a place near radioactive material. And they added that Russia was using the plant to threaten the world and is sought to complete a demilitarization on Russia. And of course, Russia is saying we don't need the fallout and to hurt our people. Uh, and so it's going back and forth on pointing fingers who's doing it. And but except for the fact that we have now Ukraine backing out of um, the UN inspectors coming in. Um, and they want to do sanctions. So I don't know. The sanctions have not worked with the Biden administration whatsoever. So um, what my reporters are saying is they're trying to get the townspeople that watch to give the UN inspectors that are there info on what they've seen and heard, because that's the ones that saying they have seen Ukraine attack, not Russia. But then you have Ukrainians that are saying it's Russia, not Ukraine. I don't think this will ever be um, agreed upon on who did what. So until they get the inspectors in there, we won't know who did what. But Russia wants them in, and Russia wants to show them. But if you don't like Russia, you're saying, well, Russia could have done something to change it, to make it look like Ukraine did it. Everybody is so untrustworthy right now. Um, so unemployment. Now I've been tracking a lot of this for months, and it and to really get to the heart of what's going on with uh, the Biden administration. Um, they're really, because you guys hear, oh, well, there's all these jobs and unemployment isn't that bad. Well, I'm going to try to explain this to you, especially since we're ahead of the midterms, and it's often underappreciated powers that the administration, that the control the government has on different governments, so they can tweak the numbers the way they want them. And I'm starting to think that the poll numbers are incorrect, that they're all being messed with too. And while it means that you can choose to do things like stop following Trump, or remain in Mexico, or um, have a hit job, your future. Um, and all these campaigns are going to be very important. And they said that um, the ability to control all that you see and all that you read and notice, when the government doesn't talk about something or won't answer, usually there's something wrong. There's something very wrong. In the last few months, the Bureau of Labor Statistics have posted the Red Hot Jobs Report, and that's where you're hearing red hot, showing June with better than expected. 375 new jobs added in June, and another 500,000 plus in July. Both massively have beaten the expectations and have been touted by um, demonstration as proof positive that we're not in a recession. Technically, as I have told you before, we have 2 quarters in a row of negative gross domestic product. But their thing is you can't have this kind of job growth. But remember, the data is being that of being touted by bureaucrats that work for the administration. And in this case, um, uh, the BLS. And so, how are they reporting massive job gains? And yet the economy is shrinking, and it doesn't make any sense if you're looking at this. And if you don't understand the numbers that they do, it just doesn't look right. All these people are out of work, but they're saying all these jobs, and all the signs everywhere. But you know what? You can't get things like steel made, because people aren't working. And we've been looking into this, and it turns out there are 2 ways that the BLS tracks down, like employment, new jobs offered to workers, or job cuts, layoffs. The first is called the Establishment Survey, which is based on payroll data submitted electronically by thousands of companies across the US, showing actual enrollment for employees on payroll. The other tracks employment is called Household Survey. And now the Household Survey is based on weekly phone and online survey that processes the heads of household to fill out. Over 60,000 homes are in the US. Are supposed to compare these two to get the full picture, but they're not. And so, for purposes of the establishment, the survey tracks how many employees are actually on the payroll reported by the companies. And the household survey is more ground level, reported by actual people that are going or not going to work. In the past few months, there have been something that nobody has explained. No one could explain. It's mysterious, because they don't know. And they don't know how this is happening, because there's um, a, a, um, a difference between the 2 reports. And they could be very, very clear if they were put out to the public just right. Now, like I've explained that, when people are cut off of unemployment, they no longer report. And there is no way that this administration can tell that they went back to work or not. And see, but if as long as people file for unemployment, that's the unemployment rate. And um, it, it should be very, very clear that we should be going in the same direction with one hand of the established. And we are showing what a robust and strong payroll jobs growth, and meaning in June and July we showed nearly 400,000 jobs, um, new payroll jobs in July. So, and with that, they control the bureaucracy and control the data, the privilege, and bind administration, of course. And now they're a focus on the data point, however. So the household survey, where they actually speak to normal, regular people, has shown the total number of people actually employed has gone down in both months, or has it? According to the households in the US, more than 200,000 people have lost their jobs in June and July. So, how could you say on one hand there's 400,000 more people getting a paycheck? And in a household, 200,000 people have lost their jobs. How's that work? Do you guys will ever wonder this when you hear it on the news? And they never really explain it. And this is what I like to do. I like for you guys to totally understand. So when you hear the BS that's coming out of their mouths, um, you can call it BS. See, they can say that the economy is really, really good if you just look at the numbers. But if you put the two numbers together, you realize, wait a minute, people are working what? Two jobs. That's what it is. When you realize that people are working two jobs now, let's say you have a household of four, right? And two people are employed, two people not. So maybe the husband and wife are both employed full time and they have two teenagers, kids that aren't currently employed. Pretty typical in a US household. And next month, because somebody has to earn some extra money to save for the kids and college fund, the wife takes on a second job. So the established survey from the BLS would show that a new job, a new payroll job, and that's the number that they by the administration is using and has been citing about um, the company payrolls have more employees on them than what they report. That's the new job, however. The household survey still shows there's only two people in the house who are employed. And the number of Americans who are now working more than one job just hit a post pandemic high, with more than 7.6 million Americans currently working two jobs. See, so it's they've got these numbers so twisted and so wrong. Now, if you guys got questions on this, hit up the chat if I've lost you. So millions of Americans currently work two or more jobs that are at least 15 hours a week or more. Also, according to the household survey, the number of Americans who are working two full-time jobs at least 30 hours per week has spiked to an all-time high, with 4.4 million Americans currently having or forced to work two full-time jobs. When the Biden office took office, the number of Americans working um, two full-time job was less than 2 million people. But fast forward to July of this year, and that number has doubled. And recently, as February 22nd, the number of Americans working two full-time job was under 3 million. But since March, it has gone from just under 3 million people to 4.4 million. So nearly all the new payroll jobs gained since March 22nd, when the Biden administration claimed 1.8 million, um, were just 1.4 million Americans taking on a second job. Um, so um, we are missing Americans where the people had these jobs. Uh, We're the people that are looking for these jobs because they are nowhere to be found. I could tell you, they are no longer counted because remember, if you control um, uh, the system, you can control the numbers, and that is very serious. Um, if you can control the bureaucracy, you can count what you want in a way that you want, and the people don't, and they don't count people who say, I'm looking for a job. They don't count the people that are no longer on unemployment because they can't. So, how many Americans are actually out of work? And that was the number I was looking for. And so, when you look and you even call the unemployment office and ask, they said, "Well, we don't know. We don't keep track of that. What difference does it make?" And I almost said, "Boy, you sound like Hillary." Um, um, uh, so the lesson here is by thinking that they aren't lying to you, but in reality they committed fraud because they think you won't dig into this, and they think you're too lazy to do the homework and to find out what the real numbers are. And the total members of the household who are employed that have been working two jobs, we won't never know that number. We really won't. And all it's doing is hurting the economy because they're not using the numbers to help the unemployment situation. They're using the numbers to cover uh, the fact that we've got really serious inflation. And if you even want to see the data, there is none. There is no data to say how many actual American people are out of work or the actual number of people that are working. The only thing the unemployment numbers are there for is the numbers they get from the unemployment office or the unemployment department with the feds. And they're only getting the numbers that their own departments are telling them. And of course, they can bend the numbers. So, um, um, they think we're stupid. And and as we see this economic war starting to happen, what have we learned from this? Hopefully, this will show the younger, um, um, the college students, the younger generations, that they don't want to go through this again. It did during the Great Depression with um, um, the younger generation during the Great Depression, like my folks, because I know my folks never wanted to see a depression. They never wanted to see socialism or communism, and they claimed to me that that's what caused it. And my mom was serious, was, oh no, communism. But as we are looking at this, I say an evil empire that's rising and bringing in the socialist program. And I've told my viewers that we are watching the socialist plan crumble before our eyes. Look what it did in Venezuela. Have they learned from it? They fled, they ran, they went somewhere else because they didn't want to stick around and live under socialism. And a lot of them are here. And we're finding out more and more that these illegals coming across the border saying, oh no, we just got away from that. We don't want that. No, why were we lied to? Well, everybody's being lied to. And this is due to the World um, Forum Economic. Uh, and, it as we look at uh, some of the things they're putting laws down on, it's more and more, I'm starting to see, uh, I want to see a China connection because when we see uh, Whole Foods saying this is socialism, and we hear the farmers saying we're being told what we can grow and not grow. It makes you wonder what's going on with our own leaders. even on both sides, because we even have at least 18 Republicans keep siding with these guys, which tells you either they are like Liz Cheney, or they actually have been thinking that um, that this is a good thing for this country. Um, and not only that, but we used to have the strongest economy, and it was backed by the dollar, and the dollar was backed by the gold. And they still got to do this, folks. You got to think about this. They still have to have the dollar in their banks all over the world. Um, and that it gives us a stronger economy. But when they want to bring in um, a cashless society and just want to print, that weakens the dollar. And what that does is it's caused everything we're starting to see today. We are becoming, the dollar's becoming weaker and weaker. And as they print more money, we see the inflation going up. And it shows you how the world elites, including their own leader, is helping all of this along. And this is a plan. And you start seeing this has got to be a plan that the all of the world elite leaders are in on. And what it is it's a global suicide. And Nancy Pelosi trying to go over there and do what she wanted to. Um, Look at how much we had to pay for her to go over there. It was something like $80 million that we had to pay for in our out of our taxes for her to go over there. And half of the country didn't even want her to go on. Not, in fact, even Biden didn't want her going. Um, and she went over there um, to do what? Well, we find out her own son was there, and he had spoke with at least five of his own companies that he's a part of in China. While he was supposed to be her escort, but he went and talked to the five different companies that he belongs to, and so we didn't know none of this. Um, it is so odd to hear when Nancy Pelosi first got in office about in the 90s. She was only worth probably about 30 mil. She married a very wealthy man. Well, now she's worth what? I think it's close to $150 million. How's that happen? Because of insider trading. And she is the one, her and Schumer, that wanted to pass this insider trading so they could make this money. And if you take a look at it now they're wanting to back off and they're wanting some more control on this. And it's the GOP that's doing it. But then you look at people like Mitch McConnell, and you're saying, okay, he's doing business over there too. Shouldn't it be released to us a list of politicians that have um, business ties to other countries? I mean, I don't care if it's even of Israel. Well, why not let us take a look to see what businesses they are with? But no, they hide it. Just like George Soros hides all 200 of his foundations. And even George Soros is bought into controlling our country and our justice system. And that's something that shouldn't even be allowed. But we do, who's doing anything about it? Now, if Russia can kick him out and Hungary can kick him out, why can't we kick him out? Well, it's because he supported um, and given the pat on the back by the Congress that need him. They need him for their own agenda. Um, and you know, as we even try to um, conquer world hunger, like look at the baby food, baby formula that's not being addressed. What about the grain? Well, we heard a few ships are going out, and we heard a lot of it's corn, but where is the rest of it? Why can't the farmers hurry up and plant some crops. With it being such a long, hot summer, we might be able to get the grains that we need if they would just let them grow. And more, then we're hearing of Bill Gates in China want to control the farmers. What does Bill Gates know about farming? I mean, the Chinese might because they grow a lot of produce over there. But the fact that why are we allowing them to buy up farms? And who's the one doing it? And as we go more and more and farther into the years of this Biden administration, the more we're starting to see that this foundation for economic freedom isn't happening. Like they said, hey, we're the adults in the room. I don't think so. And they haven't even kept any of the promises that they have made. Now, I was expecting with Joe Biden, he's a people person, so I was really expecting a little bit of unity, but no, we're not seeing unity. We're seeing a split in this country like's never been seen before. This reminds me of when I mentioned the other day when I said um, we were throwing tea in the harbor because of the British. Well, we need to throw some tea at them or something because this reminds me of the whole split. This is, I believe, even worse than the Civil War. And um, the whole thing is we're going to go hungry if we don't fix this, if we don't change not only what's going on in our country, but the global elite. And the big question was, how do you fix what's going on in other countries? Well, we can't. We can't. Um, and if they are the ones, get this, Mexico is doing a lot of our farming, so is Canada, so is China, so is Russia, so is Ukraine, uh, but we aren't. We aren't. And see, that's what I have to say the Republican plan was doing, was putting um, uh, our farming back into place. We were bringing the vehicle plants back over here and not all piling them all up in Mexico. Everything that has been done for the free trade agreement, and I could kick the Clintons for that one. And because it was like Trump said, they're not paying their fair share, whether it's monetary or the goods. They're not doing their fair share on this. And we have been taken advantage of by many countries. And is it because they have been going through a socialist um, regime themselves? And now, according to, um, uh, I'm trying to think of his name. Um, it's a guy that is partnered with Klaus Schwab. William, do you know his name? Well, he came forward and he said that all of these countries that have been under socialism, they're trying not to ship things to. Like the IMF isn't going to help Africa or Madagascar or some of these third world countries that's fallen. They're just backing away saying, no, no, no. And they were the ones that's supposed to be bailing out countries in need, but they're not even going to help the countries in need. What happened to that organization? Um, and then, well, what gets me is what the heck are they smiling about when they do this? Do you ever notice? Um, it's, we had Harris with a smirk on her face during the tie breaking vote. We have Chuck Schumer. He's all smiley and happy when he gets his way. And um, it's like, yeah, they're gonna, if Trump built it back better, they're gonna tear it down and make it worse, and they love it. They're smiling about this, and even laughing. They're laughing because um, inflation, um, of what they've done with inflation numbers, is basically what they've been trying to do. And why the heck would anybody want inflation? Well, it's to tear the country down. They want us equal to what they want us equal to Mexico. That's just plain and simple. If Mexico is poor and they're only making $3 or $4 an hour, then they need to be making what we make, and we should be able to give them half our country. If you look at the map of what it was before, um, we basically the settlers that came in and pushed everybody back into Mexico. Look at that area, and it's exactly where they're sending these illegals. Um, this should be a big slap in our faces of saying you this is what they want. They want to give Mexico back, um, or a part of the United States back to Mexico. Look at what we got. We have um, China wanting Taiwan back. We have Russia wanting Ukraine back, but not only Ukraine, but they want Alaska back. We have um, even parts of South America not wanting these individual states or what they call countries. They want them to combine as a whole and have one of the richer states run it all and take it all back as one. Um, and then we have Mexico that still think that, they want their part. And this has been a trend for about the last 10 years. Um, and I Linda mentioned her grandparents were farmers, and you have a proud heritage. Linda, now think of this: does your does your grandparents need someone after 40, 50 years of farming need to come in and be told how to farm? Because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that the feds, people with no experience, need to come in and tell the farmers about GMOs and fertilizers and teach them how to farm again. They have been doing this for hundreds of years. Um, well, no, they're not saying yay. At this point, I think they're just on a tangent. I think they're on a roll, and they're just going to keep rolling and saying, okay, let's see, what government program haven't we torn apart, ripped it to shreds, and made it socialist? And yeah, I got to remind you guys this socialist thing with um, the young college kids. They think it's social programs. So this is how they say, well, Social Security wants to take care of even young people, and that would be a good social program, or to expand the welfare system, or to start a system for free college tuition. And these are really good social programs, and that is the new Democrat socialism. You can't tell them that no, that's not what socialism's about. They say no, you've been taught wrong about it. You have been you and your generation was taught wrong about what socialism is really. It's about social programs implemented to help the poor. That's their mindset on this. And now they're taking, not only they're doing away with history, but they're doing away with social economics. They're doing away with geography. They're doing away with everything they possibly can to erase what they could find out about socialism. And they're teaching our kids wrong. It's not we were taught wrong. It's they are concealing the truth. And look at all the statues they took down. Even Nancy Pelosi moved, I think, Lee statue because she didn't want it there. And all that does is promote for the younger generation to pull down all these statues. And they're going to have a heyday with it. Um, once you tell a bunch of radicals, hey, let's go pull a couple statues down, they're all for it. They don't care what statue. They don't even want to know what statue it is. They're just looking at, hey, we get to tear something down. They have no clue. And this is what these college students were telling me. And that's what we have to look into is the younger generation now. And like I said earlier, this younger generation, when they go through the hurt of no food, they're going to start thinking a lot different. I know that's what shook up the people during the Depression, is when you go hungry, things change. Things become different. You start thinking differently. Heck, a good show to watch is Survivor. Look at how easily starvation could change their minds. You offer them food, oh, they're willing to climb a wall and um, untie a knot and race starving to death to get to the end just to get that little bit of food at the end. And that's, I think, what they're doing. They're dangling carrots in front of these kids, saying, you know what, we'll give you all the food you want, but you just have to do it our way. And socialism isn't, we have had this new socialism program since Obama's. And this is what I've tried to teach my viewers, is that it has been around that long. And that what he set it all up for was the next phase, and it was plan two, and that was to bring communism in. What scares me more than anything is Jinping is now starting to admit that him and Klaus Schwab are very close friends, and that he is going to be the leader of the New World Order. And that kind of changes the game a little bit, because I had always thought him and Russia were going to pull themselves away from this, not embrace the new Green Deal. I think he's not embracing the new Green Deal as much as he wants the world power. Otherwise, he'd be cleaning up his pollution, and he's not. So obviously, he's above the law. Um, and lastly, before I close um, for today, um, is this whole um, taxation of what they're going to sign in today. Um, that bill goes through today. It's going to go through because Nancy Pelosi says they're going to vote on it. And Nancy Pelosi does not push anything through the House that won't pass. Um, and this is alarming. This could double everything as far as cost in the United States. But not only that, but it's going to, I can't say what is going on over here will affect what goes on in another country, but we are looking at even over there with the farmers in Europe today that are going to make the final stand. And they said if they have to start a civil war, they will, but they're not going to go hungry, and they're not going to have their people go hungry. And as we look at this bill going through today, we now have to start making some serious choices, because can you imagine if this does double food costs like wholesale was saying it could? You're talking 20 to 40% increases. Can you afford that? And we tell people to prep, and you might have to start an inside garden for the winter time. You have got to do something. You can't sit and I'm gonna burn myself on this one. Don't jump YouTube page to YouTube page just to find that next little bit of information. Start looking on prepping, start looking at gardening, start looking at gardening inside, start looking at ways and recipes to cook, like soups and stews and gravies. You wouldn't believe what you can have gravy one night, and there is a way you could preserve it, and you can put it into a casserole dish the following night. We have got to start changing our eating patterns, and we have got to start getting this generation. And my grandson's one for this. He just won't stop eating. He's like Bam Bam. He just won't quit. And I told him, you don't realize this country's running out of food, dear. And we are, and we have to get these kids eating a little bit better. And get this, they even it's even come out of Camilla Harris's mouth in the elevator that my people could hear. There's too many fat people in this world. There's too many fat people in the United States. So what? We got to starve them back to a reasonable weight. Really? Really? And I swear that's what was heard on that elevator. This is the kind of stuff my people are hearing at the Capitol. I could tell you so much, but I can't say too many details because they'll be found out who they are. And as long as they're sneaking around and they can feed me the info of what's happening there, just like the nurses did in New York. When we started here and all these people were in the ER and there wasn't. My people in the Capitol feed me info every day. I can't even figure out how to tell you because without having their cover blown. What I do, folks, and it may seem like it's old, kind of old to you guys, but I have to wait a week or two. And then if I hear somebody leak it into the media, then I come right out and tell you. But to me, that's old news. I want YouTube and Facebook and social media, Twitter, whoever, to let me just tell you guys what's going on and not have to hide and sneak and use codes and uh, change my words and other words start with the letter C, and uh, there shouldn't be no need for that. You guys should be able to hear the truth and decide for yourself. And if you want to make bad choices, that's up to you. Uh, like I tell my kids every day, make good choices. And you know what? Make a good choice every day. And if you think it's a bad choice, think on it for a while. So that is it. We have corruption files tonight, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it again. It's a wrap up of the Clintons and all the things that we have discovered from over the last 10 years. And basically, what the Clintons have done and hidden from us. Like um, the boys on the tracks documents being in with the 33,000 emails of Hillary's. We want them. And there shouldn't be no reason why you can't hit them up for being a part of the murders of the boys because there's no statute of limitation on murder. So hopefully you'll be back and I'll wrap it up because I want to get on to whistleblowers next week on the corruption files, FBI and CIA whistleblowers, because these are the ones that's going to be telling us what the corruption, how deep the corruption has gone. So um, I'm so glad you guys were here today, and I thank you all for watching. And of course, subscribe and share today's show. It was full of a lot of info, and people really need to understand the unemployment because I believe unemployment numbers are have been out, and they said, "Oh, it's good, it's good. Our inflation's zero because of unemployment." Well, when you start giving me the number, the real number of how many is actually unemployed, then we can talk. But there are thousands of millions out of work right now. And it's getting to where um, if you, they're not giving out the federal tax credits if you hire people now. That's the other one I wanted to slip in there. Um, so, um, there you go. No depression. You know what? Make every day a happy one. If you're getting depressed, go out and do something. Do something fun. Try to get your mind off of it because more and more we're going to see depression spread across our country. And we've got to keep everybody upbeat. And we got to keep everybody knowing that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Eventually, we're going to get enough of the good people back in that's going to run all these bad ones out. And I bet you we never ever, I bet the next generation, once they go through a starvation mode, will never fall for socialism ever again. And we're going to watch it crumble. So, with that, I thank you all for watching. Uh, uh, we appreciate your support. You guys wouldn't believe that I'm a one woman position here of everything I do, from the videos to the shows to the research to investigating. Ellie pretty much works 15-hour days. So, anyway, with that, you guys come on back tonight and for some corruption files. And then, of course, we won't. After that, it will be trivia, and we won't be back till Tuesday. So, with that, you guys have a wonderful Friday. Watch a great movie today, one that makes you laugh, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Someone heard that Steve Martin was going to make one more movie and he was going to quit, and said, "What's your favorite?" And I said, "Of course, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles." That one would just have you laugh in the whole show, the whole movie. So, with that, folks, we will see you tonight. I'm pulling 3 shows today. And if you missed the morning weather show, go on back and watch it. It was pretty good. Yeah, let the sheep cut your grass. And don't chase the bison. All right, folks. God bless, and we'll see you tonight.